What makes something alive compared to something that's dead? If you were to Google what the definition of life is, it would define life as having 4 key factors. Those factors being the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. Which sounds correct. Most people think of life growing, reproducing, and does so until it all dies. First off, with this definition, artificial intelligence would be classified as life. AI is powered by its own algorithm that kills itself. It births randomly generated offspring until it creates the most perfect state it can possibly be in, which literally falls within all of those 4 factors. But my problem with this definition is not that artificial intelligence or technology could be classified as life, but that this definition of what life is just doesn't give a good, clear answer to the line between when something is alive or dead. Because according to this definition, you could theoretically create a human that violates all of those factors while still being considered alive. So, say that we were to remove a human's reproductive organs. Does that mean that they are no longer alive? No, they're clearly still alive. There are millions of humans alive today that are incapable of reproduction. The ability to reproduce is clearly not a determinant of life or death. Well, what if we add a machine to this human's head that pauses all cell growth and death? After this addition to their head, they will become functionally immortal, only capable of dying through outside forces and not through aging. They will also be in the best physical shape now than they will ever be for the rest of their lives. This is due to the fact that they will no longer be capable of repairing their body after hurting themselves. Is that person dead? Just because you can't grow doesn't mean you are no longer alive. The ability for growth is not a factor for if something is alive or not. This machine added to their head also disproves that you need continual change until death, as they will no longer change and will be in the same unchanging body for the rest of their lives. Change is also not a factor of life. Now, let's put this human into what I'm going to call a vegetable machine. This machine will forcibly paralyze them and take all of their activity that a human needs in order to survive. The machine will feed the human energy, it will pump their blood and breathe in air for them. Everything that humans do all the time without even thinking about it is accomplished by this machine. So does that mean that this human is dead? They can't move, they can't eat, they don't even pump their own blood, but everything else that would signify that this human is alive would not be there. We should assume that their brain is still functioning and capable of thought, because there's no reason to think otherwise. So, if this human is dead, at what point did they die at? When they became paralyzed? Does that mean people who are paralyzed today are already dead? What about people in comas? Was it when their heart was replaced with the vegetable machine? When their lungs were? When their digestive system was? The fact that there is not a single point to where this human was altered with the vegetable machine to define where they had died means that functional activity is not a valid factor of life. I think that most people would say that this human is still alive because it just feels right. This human should be alive. Just because all of what originally defined that human as being alive is invalid now doesn't remove the fact that they can still think or just exist. Even if their brain didn't work, I still feel like they would still be alive. But then what is life? Where is the line between something that is alive and something that is just dead? I'm starting to think that in fact there is no way to define what life is or isn't, and that everything in the universe is functionally dead. That maybe life as we know it is actually just chemicals working in a certain way, and that we only feel that there is something special about us because we are us, and that we see things that are genetically related to us as something that's special, when in reality none of this stuff is special. I guess that could be a depressing thing to think about, but I think the fact that we do have a consciousness, the fact that we have the ability to think about the universe and ourselves in some sort of self-reflective capacity is actually an incredibly beautiful thing. Who cares if we're functionally dead when we have emotions and thoughts, and we are able to use these emotions to build societies and create friendships and laugh, cry, and just get mad about dumb stuff? When you really try to dig into what a definition of these vague ideas that define our world, you tend to come into a nihilistic view of whatever that is. That it's either not real, just made up, or meaningless. Definitions are literally what you make them, and if you ever try to find out what the base of those definitions are, you will end up coming empty-handed.